Hello, hello. Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you.
Great. We are live streaming right now. This is the Fireside Chat meeting for November 29th, 2021. The Fire pledge is, I pledge my mind to the respectful recognition of the sovereign liberty essential to human dignity. I pledge my hands to the creation and maintenance of communal, cultural, and ecological prosperity. I pledge my eyes to watch over the integrity of truth and justice with the acceptance of the natural balance of diversity and equality. I pledge my heart to the connection that binds all of us throughout creation. And I pledge my whole being with humility and love to the grateful service of all sentient beings in human consciousness. And I will duly act in accordance to the principles derived from this wisdom. So there is a fellow by the name of, I think, Dr. Richard Tiller, professor of emeritus at the University of California, and he did studies on group intentions. What he did was essentially get a group of people together and intend for fruit flies' gestation period to increase or decrease by a significant amount of time, and to change the pH balance of base acids or base chemicals. And this group, without fail, there was a number of groups, it wasn't just one group, they successfully did change the gestation period of the fruit flies, and they successfully did change the base pH balance of the liquid. As you know, they did a number of different tests, but those were just a couple examples. And what that means is that we as individuals have the ability to, with intention and with purpose, come together and affect the physical state of reality, of the world around us, of our bodies and the groups that we participate in, literally the civilization we're a part of. Scientifically proven, right? And he was an emeritus, professor emeritus of material science. And for a material scientist to begin to look at consciousness as an effective impactor of reality is a huge step. And when we come together here and I read this pledge, I'm thinking about that. And I'm thinking about how when we come together with intention and with true purpose to create and manifest, you know, a new set of probabilities on the planet, this is real, right? It begins slowly within our bodies and then purposefully multiplies out there into the world, based upon how we feel here, and then how we go out and interact with the world and the field, the resonant field, the quantum field, let's say. This is very significant to me because, you know, sure, I'm every day waking up and doing business, as it were, but it's also about the inner mental game. And this became really clear to me this past week over Thanksgiving, which was a horrible Thanksgiving, right, for myself and my family. We had a tragedy in the family, and just negativity all around, right? Like real bad. And it affected me, and it affected my personal will and on all of these things. And I'm thinking to myself, you know, if we are here to truly level up as a people, as a example of humanity becoming more than it was, becoming more conscious, becoming more empowered, becoming more powerful, right? Then it's these kinds of things and the state of the world that we're looking at that's so very challenging and scary and all of this. But what I'd like to do today is ask some of you how all of this has been affecting you the past year and a half, your own personal life, your own personal trajectory, and your outlook on the world, right? I've been very, very much focused on building Phiron and getting contracts and successfully getting contracts and just feeling the overwhelming weight of like, whoa, this is really a challenge that we have. I have no alternative. There's no plan B. There's no like, this is well, if it doesn't work, oh well, somebody will do it. This is sort of, in my mind, do or die. And I'm gonna mute you, Nadine. It was a little loud and started reverberating. So there's no other choice for me. This is what I'm doing. What I'd like to do is just real briefly updates. We are dealing with our legal team to get the fire tokens up and on the Canadian Stock Exchange, as well as on the listings on Uniswap, and some other actual exchanges. We're working right now to get people their tokens, and actually before this meeting, I was working on the page on the FireOn website to get the instructions on how to get the Fire token address and such set up on your MetaMask and Trust wallets. So we're making steps in there. It's been like a sort of break, with the Thanksgiving break and all. But I'd like to just take a moment and ask you all how you're doing. Really, that's kind of where I'm at with things. How are you doing with this year, with all of the things that are happening? What do you see as the outcome of all of this? Personally, I feel like we are being challenged to step up as manifestors, as responsible spirits and souls for the world that we experience. And there's this disconnect with what we wish to experience and what is going on. And to figure out what that equation is, my whole thinking has been, if we get enough people with intention purposefully moving in the right direction, and it's clear, we get a handbook. Oh, that was another thing I worked on this week was a handbook, a FireOn handbook, kind of explaining what Fi is, some basic calisthenics, basic meditation, basic prayers, basic outline of how the business works and how to advance your career and stuff. Just a lot of creative stuff that I find makes me feel better when faced with the daunting, overwhelming, challenge of things. But the idea is that we get a group of people together and start building a conscious, intentional direction, a new direction, and concretize it. It goes from thought and feeling to written down and manifest and then actually lived in, right? Like Disney, for instance, started out as an imaginary sort of thing, Mickey Mouse, playful, making people happy. And then it became a thing over time that people live within. They go to a place and experience life as magical as Disney could be. So the idea is here with FireOn, we do the same thing. But again, the question is, how has this year affected you? What do you feel is the end game, let's say, here, and how do you personally see this all unfolding? Angelina's got her hand up, and it might be Jeff. We'll find out. You're on mute, brother or sister. Angelina,
I swear.
There you go.
There you
are.
Did you get it working?
Yeah.
You're making fun of me.
Nice beard, dude.
Thanks. Yeah, it's funny. I never had one before, so everyone's like, "Nice beard," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I have a beard."
Awesome.
Yeah, this year's been challenging. It's been interesting because it's hard not to just basically talk about their game and like what they're doing. It's hard to imagine creating stuff. I mean, the FireOn stuff's energizing. That's good. We got our land, of course, and so we've been working hard on that. We're in our new place that we built. Yeah, we built, well, about 2 months. We built a 700 square foot like basic house. So we're living
Awesome.
in that, and so that's helped out. But sort of thinking about how to create community to where they can't screw with us, because we're up here in northern Idaho and it's a pretty rebellious area. But even so, they're talking about like how to do stuff within government, how to do stuff, how to get people elected to, you see a lot of Trump flags. You don't see a ton of like, don't tread on me, freedom type stuff necessarily. They're like, the solution is our guy. And it's like, no, the solution is you don't like big companies, don't shop at Walmart. Like,
Yeah,
go local,
yeah,
start working together and stuff. And so
that's right.
trying to meet like-minded people and switch to like focusing on that has sort of been the light for us. And it's going all right. You know, there's a lot of people that want to do good stuff. The key, I think, is learning how to direct people and like guide people to a different way of doing things.
Yeah, we get habituated, right, to our habits, our routines. We sort of become robots in some ways, and a lot of our days as a whole, let's say, are spent in, you know, repetition, and very, very few people actually really live fully. You know, we say that when you're about to die, or when you're faced with, like, you know, right that moment, like, never are you more alive. And I think it's true, because all of a sudden everything's new and vibrant, and you're paying attention to everything, and we sort of like dim ourselves in routine. But sometimes it can be helpful, like this morning, getting up at 5 and doing you know, baseline, and getting back into my routine and working out. Like when my kids are off, my routine kind of messes up, you know, because I wake up later and hang out, and then we go traveling. And I find that I really love routine, and that if I set myself up with good routines, it leads me back to the direction that I want to go. And so the question is, how do we get people to change their routines and build healthy routines? Because it takes will force, right? You guys had a strong urge to do what you're doing and change your lives completely, right? And setting new routines and setting new templates and patterns for yourself, but ideally ones that lead you into a new direction, which is what you really want.
Yeah,
right?
and I think for a lot of people, like we were hanging out with our friends this weekend that we really want to move out here, that, you know, they're like right by an army base in the Seattle area. And it's like,
Whoa.
that's not a great place to be.
No.
It's not ideal. And it's like, you know, they talk about wanting to do all this stuff, but then they're just like sitting on the TV basically and up till 4 a.m. playing like a video game and stuff. And it's like, you gotta have the energy to create stuff, you know, in your off time, especially if you're stuck working. Like, you gotta do something. And so it's hard to find people that actually want to do the good work of like making it happen. But when you find those people, then it's like so easy, because you're getting each other excited by talking about all the cool stuff that could happen. So I think it's finding those diamonds in the rough kind of people. And like Angelina, she's great. She's going along with it. And like, you know, this wouldn't have all happened if it wasn't for her, because I probably, you know, would have gone a different route with it. But it's gotten me to a place where there's a lot of people that I can actually make a good change, it feels like. So yeah,
this is incredible. You know, I just think about what people in the future will look back and think about us, right? Not just us, you know, on this call, but us as like civilization and humanity. Like, everything is careening out of control, right? And ideally, the future humans are more cognizant, conscious, aware of their place in the environment, their place in the grand ecological web, you know, and with one another, right? And then they would look back, like we look back on our ancestors and we say, though they must have been cavemen and completely unaware and all of this stuff. But in some ways, they were way more aware than we are, right? They were way more connected with the world around them. And somewhere along the line, maybe it was, you know, the Middle Ages or sometime before then, but it became, you know, maybe it was the Industrial Revolution. People became much more embodied in the physical and stopped recognizing the life around them. I know, like I said it in the Hawk Talk the other day, where, you know, the colonists come to the United States, or the, you know, the old world and old new world, and just trample over everything, cut down trees that were ancient. And it's like, how could anybody who calls themselves sentient and conscious do that to the environment around them? Sure, we want to extract resources and do things, but to what have we done? What have we actually created, right? And we've got this civilization that's careening out of control because we just were like, let's create stuff. And we'll take all of these atoms around us, destroy the sea of tranquility that is the chaos of nature and the liveliness of nature, and make our own stuff. And we did. And we made squares and boxes and buildings and, played all these games. And we live in a society now that is devoid from compassion at the most basic. And it's, if anything, it's been weaponized, and to actually feel our feelings and to feel what's going on around us in the community around us and the environment around us seems scary to people at this point. And I wonder, how do we not indoctrinate, but like invite people back into reality, right? They've been disconnected from the land, disconnected from their ancestors, disconnected from, now at this point, from reality and communities around them. Everybody's locked in their own homes for the most part, around the world. And this whole Omicron variant, and everybody's so scared of, wondering, what does it take? Is it enough to get together on these calls, to build this business and to kind of get everybody vibing? Like, I want to experience heaven, and I want to experience heaven with you guys and with the people, around us in such a way where it makes sense that our civilization is in balance and our way of life is in balance. So thanks, Jeff, for your input. And I want to see if anybody else has anything. Eric, Michael, Nadine, we've got the Kate of Spades joining us now. So the original question is how has this year affected your outlook on what our destiny is as a species and our civilization? Eric,
Well,
you can go first.
Sure. I would say that basically I feel a lot better about this year than I did last year. I think there was a lot more uncertainty. I mean, times are certainly uncertain now, but there are a lot of people that I've met that are basically forging ahead with preparing their own lives and becoming more resilient and starting new businesses and doing all kinds of things. And it gives me some hope. There are a lot of kids nowadays that seem like they're very disconnected from the world, but there are a lot of kids that are also very in tune and very emphatic about their relationships. And so I find it to be hopeful. I think there's a lot of fear right now. And I think that probably there's some overreach, and I hope there's some overreach that people are starting to recognize. But I overall, it's been an okay year. It was great to meet you in Texas.
Yeah. That was awesome. I had a blast out there.
So, just going to events like that where you're surrounded by people who are positive and doing things. It's uplifting.
Yeah. I agree. I think the more we do these things, the more we get together and the more we build, like what Jeff was talking about, like just take the steps and find the people who are doing cool stuff and who are motivated. It's almost like all the other stuff doesn't matter. My daughter came to me and she was like, I'm getting sad. And I'm like, why? She's like, because of the way that the world is. And I was like, my heart sank. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been imprinting that on her, right? Because I'm sad by the way the world is. And I'm working to making it a better place. And by doing the things that make me feel better. And I was like, that whole saying, God grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change and the wisdom to know what I can, something like that. And just realizing that we've been so blessed, my family and I, I've made good decisions in life. I've taken care of them. I've done really beautiful things. And like, we have such amazing times. And I feel so much of the world's pain, and I want to fix it. And I think that all of us, to some degree, whenever we see suffering, if not all of us, but a good amount of humans, whenever they see suffering, they want to abate it. They want to stop it, right? If they feel like they can't, then they want to turn from it because nobody wants to witness that or experience that. And Phiron and, the whole agorism movement, everything is really about like, how do we enjoy ourselves in the face of all of this. For me, it's been a personal equation of like, how can I have fun and be at peace when all of this chaos is going on and all of this pain and suffering and madness, really? I mean, the world has gone mad, and it's because of lies. And I want it to stop, right? If I knew for sure that everybody were going to burn up in some Armageddon catastrophe, and there was nothing that I could do about it, I think that I would still be doing Fire On, in the sense that, like, if we're going to be here, we might as well do it in a way that makes sense, right? Out at Jack's, we're with a group of people who all want to do good, be honest. It's like Rotary, right? Like, it has to be fun. It has to be equitable to all parties, all of these things. And we just want to be left alone and do that and have fun and enjoy life in the things that we enjoy, and by taking part in the ecosystem, like by having the horticulture and the aquaculture and the permaculture that's built into a beautiful property like that, it makes us part of the system, which again makes us feel meaning, because we're part of something important. We're part of something that's alive, that's good. And if the world were already set up where it made sense, and we had those systems and there was accountability and transparency, this is an interesting question. Before I answer, I want to hear from you guys. Eric, what would you be doing? And maybe it's the same thing. If the world were like totally cool, like there was nothing to fix, and we just had a beautiful sci-fi, heavenly-like civilization, what would you be doing?
Oh, I'd probably be doing a lot of what I'm doing right now, growing my own food, hanging out with friends and family. I was raised on Star Trek, the original series. So, I mean, there's some of that vision has always been like, that's what the future should look like, where everybody gets along and everything's easy and nobody has any real wants. But if you think about it, that show still had a lot of conflict, because otherwise it wouldn't have been entertaining, because people are people.
Right.
So,
right.
But for the most part, ideally I'd have a little less junk in my garage, but in a lot of ways, I think I'd be doing the same things I'm doing now.
I would be definitely making a lot more music, a lot more paintings. I would be spending a lot more time hand drumming, and writing. I've been focused on nothing but work for a long time now. And it's because I feel like it's so out of balance. Like, I can't go do those fun things when all of this needs to be fixed. So in some ways, I don't know.
And in some ways, isn't self-care part of that process, where you really do need to spend some time for yourself and your family and doing things that you enjoy to recharge, so that you've got the ability to go out and face all the other stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if you're just constantly drained and run down, that's not good. And I mean, you can't be your most effective you like that.
Yeah.
So you have to take time out to do some things, spend time with your family, you spend time reading a book in the morning, or your devotions, or whatever, routines.
Yeah, I'm good at that. Like, I'm good at routine, right? I'm good at building good routines, but I haven't been painting and all of this. It's like crunch time. It's like, I kind of feel like I'll be able to in January, February, but either way, I've got a really interesting thing that I do that I want to, like, if all things were taken care of, that I'd be doing. And I'm sort of going to paint that for a goal for myself. But I want to hear from, thanks, Eric, by the way. I want to hear from Nadine.
I'm sorry, I have to drop off. I have a meeting I got to go to, but
all right, brother.
Honored.
Thanks for your attention and time, bro. Thank you.
Take care.
So Nadine, what would you be doing if all things were perfect and, civilization were taken care of, and you could trust, the systems around you? What would you be doing?
Can you hear me? Am I on? Yeah.
Yes, can hear you just fine. Thanks.
It's the first time I've done it on my laptop instead of my phone, so I just want to make sure everything's in working order.
All good. Yep.
All is well in the world. I'd be spending pretty much all my time with my kid and my community and creating. Music is a really big one. Just to touch on what you were saying about, over the last year and what have I experienced over that. A lot of transformation as far as really getting tired of the narrative and just dropping it actually and moving forward. I don't want to listen to what people are saying about statistics, this, that, new variants, blah, blah, blah. It's like, just leave that shit alone and start building. And so I started up a New Earth learning model because I'm like, well, what's the future for my kid? Well, school, she's homeschooling. She's at an age where she needs more than what I can offer her. So we need community. We need the elders. We need these things. So I just stepped into my community and put a call out for those like-minded who wanted to build something. And so now where we are right now, what we're doing is incredible. We were doing like a BC-wide initiative prep thing, but it's kind of fallen apart in ways. But then in a sense, we've come independent. So our own kind of microcosm and the macrocosm. And we're very much looking at a holistic infrastructure. We've got regular meetings. We're building our community of like mind.
Nice.
We've got our security, we're looking on food, we're looking on all these different elements of infrastructure and learning so much about like a leaderless council, how to listen, how to take in new information, how to work together. And, that full moon was brutal as far as like the emotions and the heavy weight of the world. But being held in community to go through that was so epic that now I'm like, I have so much trust that I feel like I'm almost existing in that utopian like mindset now.
That's awesome. Yeah. Building the vibe.
Because the community. So we've learned like you can prep all you want, but really what are we doing? It's like, well, we're a community and we love each other. Let's get together. Let's share food. I host kirtan, and we did a fundraiser for a friend who had to go to Mexico for treatment, so raised over $600 just in one evening of chanting Sanskrit,
Wow, that's great.
The heart-centeredness is so key, and the self-care element is so key. Like that's what I noticed with like the BC-wide initiative. There was so much burnout. And also with all the shadow and the collective coming up and personal shadow coming up, people not having the support network within their communities necessarily to hold one another as we move through that shadow work.
Right.
Things can kind of go off a bit for people if they're not held in a nice, safe container to process that stuff. So I just feel like community is so, so valuable and so important. And that's really what we're focusing on is being that community for one another and allowing our soul purpose and allowing our gifts to be what we offer in our communities. So I play music, I do sound healing. I'm now all of a sudden I'm in a like-minded community because we've gathered, and I'm working with my sound, and people are coming in and getting sound treatment, and they're chilling out, and they're actually having stuff move through their systems. And it's just, where I do need to make more time for my kid because I'm busy networking and all that stuff. But I think it's also a really good example for her to see her mom. I'm a single mom, to see.
How old's your daughter?
She's almost 12. And she's a little warrior too, right? She's a little warrior, but I think it's really good for kids to see their parents putting their both feet in for a promising future for them. Like it says a lot in hindsight when they're older and they look back, what did my mom and what did my dad do? Wow, they did everything in their power to create a better world for me. you know, and it
Yes.
takes your time and it takes your energy. And they will also witness you taking your self-care, that which gives them the permission for that self-care too, right? So
Yeah.
it's a balancing act that we have to learn to implement in our daily, and the kids will pick up on that, on how to do that. But yeah, I'm stoked. I'm pretty lit with regards to all the possibility of where we're at in this time.
It's funny. I've been concerned. Thank you, by the way, for sharing. My daughter's 12, one of them, and she's full on like teenager now. She like likes to sleep in till 10. She still makes her bed and does everything, and very respectful. It's really cool. So I get it. But she was the one that I brought up earlier. But like, I've had this fear that if I just stay focused on what's around me and make myself happy in that place, then who's going to take care of all the rest, right? Because I'm like, in the sense that, well, the system's broken, the system's corrupt. What if I build this beautiful thing here and then it just gets wiped out because humans are arrogant and ignorant? And as I'm saying it, it sounds really silly to me, but I'm like, and I mean, it sounds silly to me because there's only now. And if I'm doing that which makes me feel good now and taking care of my family and all this, then it shouldn't matter, right? But then there's this side of me that says there are people who have concerned, like Jeremy's just saying, God takes care of the rest. And I'm saying, yeah. And at the same time, like, where then has it been? Where has God been in taking care of the rest? Because there's all this corruption and all these other humans doing all these horrible things. And is that a reflection of my own personal lack of trust and faith in God? Or is it like we need to grow up and think about the greater systems that we are in? You know, I talk about on Hawk Talk, like, we're just complex chickens, myself included. I have a routine that I build, but I built it, right? A lot of people's routines are built for them by their parents, by their school, their indoctrination. I had the unfortunate blessing of becoming completely responsible for my own cognitive space and sense of self. And so I wonder, like, where's the balance? Should we be involved in government? Should we be involved in our own governance, right? Should we start thinking about more than just our own little circle? Because if, like, yeah, I could just be like, the world will take care of itself, right? And maybe that just means like it'll wipe me out. And maybe that's the order of things. Maybe it'll wipe my family line out. Does it matter, right? Like, energy just transforms and will come into something else. Like, what is the purpose of living in that sense? Do we build our civilization for longevity, or just, you know, we're here for 80 years and then peace out? Like, it doesn't matter what we do. You know, it's like we're either responsible for everything or we're responsible for nothing. I think Jordan Peterson, he said, like, those are the only two options. You're either responsible for everything or you're responsible for nothing. But the people who are responsible for nothing find no meaning. But the people who feel responsible, and that meaning creates that happiness, right? Because it gives me great meaning to make music and do these beautiful things and to build Fireon. It makes me feel like I'm facing the darkness proactively and growing because of it, rather than being overwhelmed by it, you know?
Yeah.
Jeremy, what do you think?
Yeah.
Thank you, Nadine, for sharing, by the way.
Thank you.
I don't know if you can speak, Jeremy, or not. If not, we'll go to Maye. Or Michael, or whomever is available to speak to that. Where's the balance? Do we just focus on our own little space, or do we, you know, take care of that which is around us as well? Do we just trust God? Where are that?
The problem is we have thugs bothering us, so we can't just do nothing, or we end up in a world they want, not a world we want. Now, I'm like you, I work every day trying to change what's going on, trying to wake people up, change their mindset. But most of the people around me are all lining up for the vaccine. So,
Right.
but I can't just stop. If I stop, if nobody had protested, we'd already have the mandates in place. It's because protests are going on, you know, and I might be forced, I might be thrown into a camp. because I refuse to get one. So we have to fight. We're in a war right now. Most people are trying to make believe it doesn't exist. You know, it's like, just meditate, it'll go away. No, it doesn't. Thugs don't go away. Thugs have to be arrested. I'll put that, it will be nice and just say arrested.
There you go. I feel, you see, I feel that too. Like, it's so amazing because each one of you are speaking like mirrors, right? We're all mirrors for each other. And each of you are saying something that like I deeply feel, I deeply resonate with. And, you know, I think our lack of conviction, I hear a lot of conviction in your voice, Mike. And I think, but as a whole, our lack of conviction or our lack of willingness to face these things is got us in this predicament. Because people have gotten complacent and just like, oh, somebody else is taking care of that. Meanwhile, that is outside now of my consciousness and I'm not paying attention to it. So a lot can go on out there. And if I'm not contributing my life force and direction towards it, then somebody else is doing it. They're not doing it for my benefit, right? There's very few people who are like this, where we think about the betterment of the whole, right? Most people are out for themselves, or so it seems. You know, it doesn't seem that, actually. Like, a lot of people seem to be that, but I don't know that that's really the case, because when I sit here and talk with you all,
it's the system. See, I've always been a we person, but I was in a me system. So I had to compete with everybody in order to get a job. So that's what it is. Change the system and everything changes.
Yep. And that's it. That's why I'm like, how do we create the system? So then it came to me and I figured it out. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I need $5 million to do this. You know, cost averaged, like everything. Like, this is what it'll take. And yeah, that's the mission. If we can build a new system, it's going to take some time either way, because people are going to have to readjust, retrust. It's like people who have been traumatized, or like kittens or dogs, you get them off the street, they've been traumatized. It takes a while for them to like get comfortable, right? But I think with the kind of support that, you know, Nadine's talking about, the community, and with the kind of intention that we have, you know, I see it being able to happen. What it takes is us all having that explicit collective vision. When two or more are gathered in my name, and the reason liturgy and prayers and things were done in a specific way is to manifest specific things, like I opened up this conversation with. When a group of people come together with the proper intention, they can literally physically affect matter. They can change the pH balance in base liquids. They can change the gestation period of fruit fly. Like, we can do amazing things when we come together with the intention and purpose behind it. And so it's been Baseline, Hawk Talk, all of this has been, you know, Fireside Chats. It's all been to get people together and activate. And it's hard. Like, I think one of the challenges that I've had is being able to delegate and say, all right, we need to do this, this, and this, and then finding the right people who can help make those things happen. And you all are showing up on a regular, you know, even if it was just, you know, for the firesides. Jeremy, that's really sweet of you. I appreciate you, man. You know, like, we have great initiatives, the Fireside Chats, but I can't, or the Fire on Quests, but I can't manage all of this myself. And I need people that I can trust to do it, and to do it well, right? And to do it with honor, and to do it with, and that's part of this whole problem, right? Because we trust other, we can't handle running civilization and living our own lives, right? We have to trust others to do it. And that's why the systems were set up in the way that they've been set up, and they've served us really well. They've built a, you know, it depends on how you look at it, but served us well. We've got a civilization and people aren't dying like they used to, but at the same time, people are disconnected from that which they are a part of, unlike they've ever been. And so, you know, if we rethink things and have the ecosystem set up in such a way where there's accountability and transparency, this is the beauty of the blockchain, is that we're able to hold accountable like we used to be able to when it was a small thing, but then it scaled, governance scaled, and we went from our senators and congressmen, you know, being able to recall them to all of a sudden, you know, they're just corrupt now and we don't see it. So a lot of people are scared about blockchain being the beast system, and myself included, right? I'm worried about that, because if somebody's controlling it that way, and it's not decentralized enough. It's just more of the same, just way more efficient, total slave society. If we build it properly, then it's the liberation tool. And it really comes down to this trust but verify. Like, I trust God, but I'm going to tie up my pony just because I don't want it to run away, because something could happen and it would run away, or somebody would take it. But like, I have to take part in my own safety, in my own development, in my own security. And so, you know, being here at this time and finding the balance between, this is the way of the world and I want to do all that I can to make it better, and then I also want to just enjoy what I've got, right? And I think that proper utilization of this technology will allow us to do that. Just looking at the chat real quick. Is Maya still here? Maya, would you like to chime in?
Hi, Xavier. Hi, everybody.
Hello, hello.
I think on my little side of the world, my challenge has been like not so much the ideas and not so much like the willingness to act. Like I have the ideas, and every day I wake up and I construct something. Like I do take the action. I've been stuck financially, and I think this is like what's holding most people back. I'm not for sure I'm not the only one. And then every day I wake up like, okay, I work on God mode. I work on the stuff that I want to see for my daughter, which is me. Like in my perspective, she's me. I already came back to this realm, and I'm like living through her too. So it's not I'm living for her, but for myself too. And I'm sure you feel the same way. When you realize God, when you see your children, I already came back. This is what I want to leave for her and for the people around me. But like what I've seen is that it's going to take more time that we expect, because we gotta like educate more ourselves and educate others. To be able to educate others, you gotta educate yourself a lot so that people can kind of like catch it. Because of course we want to help others, we want to wake up others, but not everybody is ready for what's coming. Not everybody is ready to understand the energies that are coming from. And Nadine mentioned the moon, like last moon in Scorpio was rough. For those who like really, for those who really are paying attention to what's going on in the consciousness, like it was rough for me. Rough. I'm like, wow. And the more I wake up, the heavier it is, because like now you're accountable for doing your own work, internal work. And it's like very easy to talk about it, but when you sit with yourself, just with yourself, it's hard. Not everybody's ready for it. And what I can do right now is like help the neighbor, help. I don't practice this as I'm in Puerto Rico. In Puerto Rico, I know all my neighbors. Like I know who's left and right, back and forth. Like I know a good radius, but and when I came to America, it wasn't like that. So like I really have to step out of my house and out of my comfort zone to get to know someone. And it's the little things that you can do for the other that create an impact and, in a chain effect. So like as long as you really empower and rub your power, realize, God, you're making change every day. It's gonna take a little bit, maybe generations, I don't know. But gotta wake up every day with like that wanting and doing the action for the change. I guess those are my 2 cents.
No, thank you. I'm reminded that hopefully, if all things go well, that these talks, these fireside chats, will be looked at by historians, in the very far future, and they'll look at how their civilization was built. That's the intention, that we come together with enough clarity, enough purpose of intention, enough clarity of intention, and the action and the vibe, right? And that we're doing this work, and part of it is really like figuring out these things together, like figuring out what we're going through, what we're feeling, what does it mean, what who are we in relation to the stimuli that's out there? Can we really address what's going on in the world? Or is it somebody else's job? And if it's somebody else's job and they do a bad job or they use us for their own benefits, should we just accept that or not? And I get the sense that we're all here because we don't want to accept that, you know? I don't want to live my life to the dictates of lesser men, right? I think we here are very capable of building the world that we want to live in and our own vibes. In one way, shape, or form, everybody here is taking steps to making their lives better in some way. And not just for themselves, but for all those around them. Like you were talking about how, you know, you knew your community, and now here you actually have to go out and figure out who they are because there isn't that warmth that you grew up in, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, and it's really true. And like, we're all in different parts of the world, but we have found each other from our strivings, our vibrational frequency, whatever it is. And if we can set a frequency and intention, then others around the world will eventually find us. And if we're spread around the world and we all hold the same intention and say we're all going to go in the same direction, then there's really nothing that can stop us. The only thing is like the dark wizards, right? And their manipulation of everybody to get everybody's fear-based version to build the reality that we're experiencing. And like, we're so much more powerful than that. So yeah.
There is a reason why we're spread out. Like, we're very spread out, all parts of the world, but like, that's how you build a net of light. Like, I'm here pretty much in the middle of nowhere, but I'm impacting those that are in the middle of nowhere.
That's right.
And so is everybody who's in this chat. There's a reason why we're here. As long as like we keep remembering our light and what we're here to do, and just keep pushing forward, because it's all in the breath. You're still breathing. You're still here.
Yep, that's right. Jeremy, you haven't said anything yet. Are you able to unmute now? Thanks, Maya. I did ask to unmute, so it should make you able to. It should be able to. I'm gonna look in the chat. I too am in the middle of nowhere. Good. So, anybody have anything they want to say? Last minute things, questions, or contributions? Otherwise, I'm going to do the prayer. I am going to Bit Basel today. Got to take my daughter to the doctor, and then got to go to Bit Basel and represent Phiron. And I think we're going to be able to raise our money there. I've got a couple NFTs for sale. Woohoo! I had them made a long time ago, and so they should be good. Says host won't let me do video either. That's not true, Jeremy. I've got everybody can. Here, let me look at the meeting settings just to be sure. But everybody else is mute upon entry. Always show meeting controls. Yeah. Stop incoming videos off. Show self view. Yeah, no, you should be able to. Monsieur Jeremy. Okay, next time. All right, so I think for this prayer, what I'd like for everybody to do is, if you're okay with it, obviously, repeat the words that I'm saying in your mind or out loud, whatever you're comfortable with. And if you don't resonate with anything, don't do it. That's fine. But I think what I would like to do is, I'm just kind of connecting in with y'all, is envision a world that Eric was talking about, you know, like, it doesn't necessarily mean Star Trek, but that world where it's like, welcome to Earth. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to worry about being impoverished. You don't have to worry about food or where you're going to sleep. It's like there's education tracks designed specifically for you, and you're able to, you know, pursue your soul's longing. And that vision I would like to invoke right here, right now, with all of y'all's permission. All right. Infinite Creator, thank you so much. Thank you for all of the challenges and for all of the growth and the opportunities to learn. And as scary as it is, it's actually really exciting because, like somebody had said earlier, without the conflict, it wouldn't be exciting, right? And thank you for each one of the souls here and their particular contributions to this vision, this movement, and their own lives and their own families, and the part that they play in the greater superorganism that is humanity. And thank you for their part in the symphony, their note, and their beauty, and their power, and their grace. And thank you for having them inspired to be here and be a part of this. It's really an honor to share deeply and truthfully and openly with others, and to find meaning and significance in that. And I'm super grateful for them as mirrors and reflections of me, and everything that they've said are things that I feel. And it's important that we build a beautiful world and honor you in that way, and build it in the light and love of the infinite Creator and that infinite oneness. We recognize that we are family, and we recognize that we are one with you and one with all things. And we would like to see that manifested in the world that we experience. I would like to see a world where, when a being is born here naturally and beautifully, or even, synthetically, that they are welcomed, and that they do not have to struggle. They do not have to worry about survival, health, that they are given the tools in honor, in truth, in a system that is honorable, so that they are given the tools that they are able to pursue their soul's longing and development of their soul and the understanding of their being, where we can make decisions together as a people with clarity and trust and openness. And there's no need to hide or be in shame or keep ourselves hidden from others, but that it's safe enough that we can be open and truthful and radiant with one another, that we can inspire the best in one another. And it's been my intention that Phiron is the starting point for this, and the kickoff, that we can actually see and conceive and be a part of and build our own civilization, where we become aware and conscious of it, where we take part in it, and we're able to find our joy and our peace and our balance, and conduct business in ways that are good, that benefit the planet instead of destroy it. And there's no more usury, but we actually all benefit one another simply by being and making choices and living our lives in a way that's healthy and in balance. Thank you for the opportunity to make this real. And thank you for the investors that believe in this vision, and believe in me, and believe in our community. And thank you for bringing them to us with clarity and with purpose and with expediency. And I'm very excited to carry this forward with these folks and with all the others who will be coming. And thank you for having pity on us and giving us the opportunity to dwell on these things and thinking about these things together in such a way where we bolster one another and make our lives brighter because of each other's presence. Thank you so much. In Christ's name, amen. Love you guys. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
You're all doing great.